It's 5:30, so let me clean my glasses so I can see what I'm doing.
Good idea.
All right, I need to call this meeting to order. Are we live? Or am I just turned? You're live. Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now? All right. I'm calling this meeting to order, and we have a closed session. I don't have the...
It's in your folder, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Closed session under NCGS 143-318.11A5 to establish and instruct staff or agent concerning the negotiation of price and terms of a contract concerning the acquisition of real property. Okay, I need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Mr. Morse made the motion. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. Todd, approved? Okay,
Do it by hand.
by hand, right.
Back in live, right?
Okay, we're back in live. Okay, all right, got to get used to that.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem is en route, should be here in about 10 minutes. He said he'd join us in closed session.
Okay. All right, do we want to go in there and let them be comfortable, or do we just want to make them go stand outside? If it was raining, I'd make you go stand outside. We can go in the other room. All right, well, we'll do it all over for take two. I need a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Mr. Morse made the motion by show of hands. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. That brings us to the workshop.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just quickly want to introduce Ken Holbrooks. He's with Bayer Development. And I do want to highlight that your agenda packet originally said Sheffield was proposed as townhomes, so I'm very pleased to announce that it is single-family development. We've had, of course, a lot of townhome proposals here lately, so this one is single-family subdivision off of Indian Trail Fairview, and I'll turn it over to the developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm told I only have 15 minutes, so I'm going to try to make this brief, which is, as my partner said, not easy for me to do. I'm going to also try to balance, as a somewhat informal work session, I'm told y'all sometimes like to email later. This is a balance where I want to make sure I get all the information to you as possible, but also as much feedback that we can get because we want to react accordingly and do what we can there. I'm Ken Holbrooks, as Brandy said. My business partners are Tom Waters right here and Tim Coey. And then we have our team from WK Dixon, our design team, land planners, et cetera. We have Edwin Sudrith here, and we have Weston Bowles in the back. So we can answer questions on the technical front as well. So it's been a while. I've known a few of you over time. Actually, I think I sat with a couple of you last time you were under election when I was here with Union Grove community we were zoning at the time. And appreciate the opportunity to be back here again. We would love to have been back here. It's not been easy finding an opportunity in Indian Trail these days. So we have found a piece of property that we've been working on for quite some time. I don't know how to, am I in charge of this? So if I do that, there we are. Thank you. So we spent a fair amount of time working along with a group of landowners in this area, the Tomberlin family, who's been here for generations and owns quite a bit of property. Finally decided that this was the only piece of the pieces over there they owned that they were interested in potentially developing. In some ways, it's a little bit more accessible from the Hemby Bridge side, and that's how they always think of it, although it is an Indian Trail property. As we went to speak to them, one of the issues, and I know sewer is a big dialogue, we were kind of laughing about in the back as we do a lot of work in Union County. This one's an even more unique situation because one of the issues for sewer in the area before the plant discussion that you are going through is the lift station that's actually, I don't want to touch any buttons here. It's actually just above where it says Annandale on there, has been over capacity. So the Union County Public Works folks have been working for some time to build an equalization basin that would take some of the capacity issues off of that. And they had identified quite some time back this property. So a portion of the property, when we get into this, is being worked with Union County Public Works to have an equalization tank on it to take some of the capacity issues off. And so we're in stages with Union County right now to commit sewer based on that sale of that property that the property owners are dealing with. So that's a positive for us as a potential owner. I will come back to the lot size if you don't mind. Let me show the plan. So the property is 89 acres approximately. It does have a power easement in it, and it does have some floodplain. So we instead decided to stay on the top end of the property. We didn't feel any reason to try to push the envelope and move down on the property. It ends up being because of that obviously maybe only a third of the property is being used by us. We had our land planners look at it along with, there's a checkered portion you can see, which is where the equalization tank will be built by Union County Public Works. It shows our ponds. We went ahead and sized those appropriately, looked at different access points. We've met with Todd and Brandy on ensuring that we would have our emergency access allocated here. Obviously, we've done the same thing with both water and sewer. We've talked with both the town engineer, Todd, as well as NCDOT on site distance, and et cetera, and tried to ensure that we've had those things managed in the process. So this plan reflects that. Oddly enough, as we hopefully go into this process a little further, we know all the property owners. Obviously, everybody on the bottom part of your page, or I assume what you're seeing, is already developed, mainly Bonterra and I guess Annandale, but the properties, everything pretty much on the north side, we have talked to at some point, have either had under contract or tried to buy, or they're just family members in general. So we feel pretty comfortable about the knowledge base of the folks in the area and what we're planning on doing here. So moving backward, now that we've talked about the plan a little bit.
Could you go back, I'm sorry to interrupt.
yes, sir.
Could you just go back just 2 slides, I believe, to the layout?
To this one, yes, sir.
Is it just one entrance or two?
It is one entrance and it's 71 lots. That's a good point. We, obviously through fire code and different ordinances, I think y'all's is the 30, we have to provide a second ingress egress. That's what the checkered line on you'll see our white entrance. And then if you move to the left of that, up the road back towards Hemby Bridge, you'll see kind of a checkered line type pattern there. That becomes our second ingress egress. If you look at the bottom cul-de-sac of the property on the left-hand side of the page, there is it may be hard to read on there. I certainly can't read it from here, but it points out the emergency access that would come in for fire and ambulatory service to meet that requirement. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, but thank you. It's a good question. It's one we didn't have to deal with a few years back, and now it's one we deal with often. So it's one of the first things we made sure from a land planning and engineering effort to look at. We did look at a similar lot size to what we proposed before. This is a 50 by, call it 130 nominally. We have some architecture we can show you. It's similar to, I think, as they've shown on here, some other communities in the area. I think when you get to a 50-foot lot, I think the product is typically what everyone wants to know about. How is it being dealt with from a garage, a driveway, just a look in general. So we've thrown in a smattering of product on here to kind of show how porches and garage doors will be handled. I think one more thing, I'm going to go back over to the plan for a minute. Sorry to skip around. One of the things we also tried to do specifically, or I'll say the design team did a yeoman's job, is only 20% of the lots don't back up to open space of some sort. We tried to make sure that, and those are basically the ones on the cul-de-sac there in the middle, we tried to make sure that there was adequate space, long lines are broken up, et cetera, so that the feel of the community would be a little nicer from that avenue. And obviously the houses that sell in there would sell higher because for the most part they're on premium lots at this point. So, so that was one of the things we tried to do along with the product at the time. The other thing that doesn't show per se on here is we are providing a raised foundation for each of these and a water table that would come with that. And these will have mixed facades on the front as well as as you see, the architectural flavored doors. So I'm sorry if I've spoken too fast, and I appreciate that someone actually asked a question in the middle, but I have plenty more I could present, but I feel I should stop and ask if there are any questions next.
How much are the houses selling for?
We're a long way from that point. If you tell me today everything here is golden and good, realizing that we're probably 2 to 2.5 years from having the first house there, I wish I could tell you the answer. They would probably sell for the same thing that we sold around the corner, 400s at this point, call it upper threes. But I'm somewhat guessing, considering lumber went up this year, $25,000 a house. If it goes up that way every year, they could be $1 million by then, I don't know. But that's what we would expect at this point. That's what we're aiming for. We feel very comfortable with upper threes at this point to call it low fours as a starting point.
What size houses are you talking about?
I don't know if we have the square footage on these. I mean, these are, things like that are going to sell in the 120, 125 buck a square foot thing. So we can divide 400,000 by that. You can tell what the square footage is. It's going to be a range of square footage, probably 2,200 to 3,600, depending on the situation. Thank you. Good question. Others?
Yeah, I do have a question, but I kind of want to look at the map, trying to get the location actually
Yes, sir.
down a little bit.
Oh, the original map.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to really understand sort of the location of it, like, not this map, but the one with the sketch, with
The sketch plan itself? Or this one here?
No, let's go to the one with the houses where you laid out the.
Oh, there?
Right.
What was this?
So what I'm trying to really figure out, really, and, I'm sorry, I'm gonna walk in front here, but, what street is that up there? That's Indian Trail Fairview Road?
Yes, sir.
And where would Rocky River be in proximity to that? Towards the north there?
Correct.
All right. So that is after you go around the roundabout, and then you're heading down Fairview Indian Trail?
Let's,
Am I off? Yes. So, once you go around the roundabout off of Rocky River, there's two. There's one up closer to Poplin, not that one. The second one, you head down there. Once you make that turn, there's a little power station or something along that line. You're talking about down that line there's some power lines running not too far from there. That's the area we're talking about.
I think that's this power line as it extends over towards the ceiling. Yes, sir. That power easement, if you see this, yes, sir, that right there.
Okay.
I think if you keep going up the page that way, that's where it goes.
All right, so, okay. So I kind of have an understanding.
The access for the property, actually, the driving access, I'm guessing, for most people driving in and out of town or to the property is going to be coming down Idlewild and then turning there at Hemby Bridge and then coming down.
Okay.
Is the most likely way we would think traffic would
Yeah.
be driven.
So if I were coming from Fieldstone Farm, I'd be heading towards Hemby Bridge to be able to get into that there?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I mean, the irony of the property is, I mean, there's, you can barely, right about where it says site over there.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know this. I don't know if y'all know this. That entire area right there is owned by Union County School Board, and they have a middle school and high school designed, and part of the property is cleared and graded to build a school site there, and they've been holding off for a while to build it, so.
Yeah, that's Site D. Yeah, correct. You're correct.
Oh, you know more than I do. I didn't know it was Site D,
It's
but.
called Site D. as in
So,
David.
but the most of the traffic would come from that area, and I mean, that's the school side as well, so we're guessing that most traffic will come from that direction.
And you said that it's about 88.68 acres. You're not building on everything. You're keeping the size that you're build, or the lots, or the piece of the land you're building on. What is the actual acreage of that, if you don't mind me asking, of what you're going to build on that's buildable?
I'm going to guess it's 25 acres, approximately, but we could get that information and tell you. I mean, it's a little bit of magic math, because obviously there is some easements and other things there we're playing with, but I mean, we're at 0.8 dwelling units per acre, because of the, what we've minimized there, and, you're trying to play nice with Union County Public Works as well.
So, but how big are the lots? I guess, that's a question,
The lot size here, the nominal lot size shows 51 by 130, which is a 6630 square foot lot.
so how many houses on an acre? Because, I mean, what are we talking about? 4?
I mean, 43,560 divided by 6, I guess,
What,
five or six, yeah.
5 or 6 per acre?
Lot size is 6,600.
Okay,
Got it right here.
thank you, Tom.
Didn't know he knew that. It's on your.
Yeah, are you talking about the 6630? Yeah, that's what I just gone back to here. I don't know what y'all are seeing on your screen, so when I flip, if y'all are seeing the same thing
We're
as
seeing
me.
the same thing you are.
Okay, well, so the middle picture there is representative of our lot size, which says 6630 on it, yes, sir.
They look small. They look small on paper. I just wanted to make sure how big they were.
I think the reason it looks small, once again, is the entire property is, nearly 90 acres. We just use rough things. We're using 25 of 90, so we've left open space, and once again, we've tried to back lots up to that to ensure that, some of these lots are just nicer lots. We've also tried to make sure we've taken into consideration those cul-de-sacs being correct in terms of grade and, just making sure that the design of the neighborhood's good at this point. We've done a fair amount of homework. We've been working on the project for quite some time before we wanted to even bring it in and bring it to you guys, so.
All right, one more question. You mentioned that you have been working with the county in terms of water, sewer, and there's an equalization tank that's going on the property and so forth, right? So
Yes, sir. That's, if you look on the screen now, the tan checkered area to the far left is
Yeah.
where they're putting it. Yes, sir.
All right.
Is that property in Indian Trail or is it in the county?
I actually think that property is already an Indian Trail. I guess I'll look back, because that was one of the comments that they had in terms of, yeah, the red is us, is our property, and the red includes that on it, and that's already in Indian Trail, so I feel certain it is.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. This particular property with the 88 acres and 25, all the green area that we see here, that's your power line right away that's running through the middle?
There is a
Correct.
power, that's what that band of 2 lines there. There's a little bit of arrows you can see on there. I can barely see from my end that calls it out.
Okay, and then a little to the north, that's the floodplain?
There is another line. I can't tell which one's
It's
the
right-
tree line
right
or which
underneath
one.
those cul-de-sacs, there's those 2 squiggly lines that run the whole length. Is that-
There's 2 different ones. One's the tree line, I believe, and one's the floodplain line. Do y'all either one know which?
One's the 100-year floodplain, and one's the 500-year floodplain, are the 2 squiggly lines to the north of the power line easement.
Gotcha, okay. So the higher one obviously would be the 500-year, and then the one below it's the 100.
And then the area beneath the floodplain, okay, so we've got the cul-de-sacs, the floodplain, and right between the floodplain, the 100 and 500, and the power line transmissions there's all this other open green area. Would that, and this is kind of a question for our town, do we have our trails going out in that area? The trailway? Are they?
We put trails in the floodplain, yes, but I don't know if you're talking about the trails themselves.
Right. Do you know, in the master plan of the trails, does it, in this area out there, can we look to see?
I don't know offhand.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it runs through Bonterra. So
Yeah,
I-
Bonterra has trails.
Okay.
So I do know that, and I don't know if it runs up through there too, so.
There's no trails on this property currently. I do know, my in-laws live in Bonterra, and I've used the trails. I know they run into that area. I don't know exactly where on the Bonterra property it is.
Would you be opposed to having trails running through that property?
It kind of depends on what that means and what it's connecting to. We do a lot of trails. I didn't really tell a lot about our company. We do a lot of work in Cornelius and Davidson, for instance, where we're doing trails currently right now. They have a very detailed plan, and then they tell you where they want to connect things, and it's a lot easier. It gets a little harder when someone says, just build a trail, and it's kind of an island scenario. So we love trails. I'm a big hiking, biking guy, so love the opportunity, but I guess we'd just love to hear that dialogue a little bit more as to what that means.
So it sounds like you're receptive to talking about it at
Yeah,
least.
the only other thing I didn't recognize him in the back there. I think, technically, we just want to make sure we know what that is as well, because trails in floodplains have to be done correctly, I guess, so. But there are sewer lines and other things down there which typically can be also utilized because they're a little drier areas, so, I'm sure we can figure something out.
Are there any amenities planned?
They're not. That's a real tough one at this point. With 71 lots, it just doesn't make sense to have the amenities there. We really find, even north of town when we've done, we're doing a 160 lot community that's custom homes and there's no amenity. But instead we did a lot of parks like we did here, and that's your amenity. People want open space and places they can go, and that's why trails are always a good one, because people are more interested in doing that than you just, frankly, on a 70 lot deal, you're going to get such a tiny amenity. It does so little, and most of these people would prefer not to have it. It's an HOA burden, really. So,
Thank you.
any others? Anything I've missed? A few of you haven't asked anything, but I'll certainly appreciate the time. We look forward to hopefully coming back for more. If there's more that can be followed up with email or whatever the case may be, we were here to listen and to hopefully have a good dialogue. We have been here before, and we'd like to continue to come back. We love Indian Trail and what y'all provide, so thank you.
I'm sure that, excuse me, I'm sure there'll be more questions to follow.
Oh, absolutely.
They'll send them through the town manager to you, and then you'll send them back, and he'll get them back to the council.
Perfect. Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
your time and patience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager?
Okay, what we want to do is we want to talk about a citizen recognition policy tonight. Have it in your agenda package. And as I walk through this, I'm also going to reach out to our able town clerk because I know she has worked on it in great detail with the mayor. So what I'll do is I'll hit upon some of the highlights, and assuming there's no questions or concerns, we will go ahead and adopt that. We've got three areas we want to talk to you about tonight. One is the mayor's recognition, and this is a service award for outstanding acts of service to the town or town residents. And we didn't specifically define what those outstanding acts are for a very good reason. We wanted to put some flexibility in there. Also, as part of that, and this is very common in other cities, is it's the option to extend the mayor's for the day, the key to the city. And in this case, residency is not required. You potentially could have someone that maybe has a business here but doesn't live here that has done something that's noteworthy. And this is a program that's appointment is solely by the mayor, and appointees get to ride with the mayor next time we have a 4th of July parade at a distinguished location. And so that's the first item. The next item that we want to bring to your attention, just so we can kind of separate all of this out, is the Grand Marshal. And this is someone who has made a long-term service to the town of Indian Trail, made a significant contribution. Maybe they have been Santa Claus for a number of years. Maybe they have led a drive to help a child do something. But a long-time resident, or someone who's made a long-term service. It can be a group. It could be the Lions Club, the Rotaries Club, or the Shriners, something like that. But somehow they must be affiliated with the town, such as a resident, business owner, employed inside the town limits. They are selected by the Lions Club or the Western Union Rotary for consideration, and then those names go to the city council. I think as up to 3 names, the city council votes on that 3-name list only, and then they are the Grand Marshal of the parade. We want to give credit and thanks to the Indian Trail Lions Club and the Western Union Rotary Club for their many years of assistance in making sure that we have very good parades. And then last but certainly not least is the Citizen of the Quarter. You know, the good deeds done. You know, sometimes you don't recognize these folks. They're very quiet warriors out there, but it's an opportunity to recognize those. And as someone that's been noticed by the community and doing something that has benefited the town, it acts, cause good feeling in others, and must be a resident of the town of Indian Trail and selected by the majority of the council, and will follow the council and mayor in the July 4th parade. So those are the 3 items we're looking at as far as the citizen recognition policy. And let me see, Kathy, have I missed anything, or?
The only thing that I would add is that the inputs can come from anywhere, and that we will be looking to Abby to sort of start putting this out there a little bit more, so that when we recognize these people, it's more than just coming into council meeting. And so part of our process is to bring them back to council. Like, for example, we have Joel coming in, who will be recognized with a service award. And it will be mayor's prerogative if he wants to give him to the key to the city or ride with him in the parade each time we bring somebody in for this service award. So That's about all I have to say, is we just want to make them more significant than they currently are.
Yes, sir.
Comment and a question. Todd, did you create this? I see the Lions Club, and I know you're a member. When you were saying 3 nominees, are you saying 3 from each group, from the clubs?
No, what it would be is I think the Lions Club does one parade and the Rotary does the other.
Okay.
What the Lions Club would do is they would send you three names.
And anybody can make those recommendations
Yes.
to the Lions Club, staff, citizens, council, anybody. It's just up to them to vet, to bring back to council their top 3.
Yeah. And the council would vote off that list of 3.
So council would not be adding to that list.
They would not be added to the list of 3, but they could send it to the Lions Club for consideration.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that going to be stated in the policy? I know this is just an outline.
Should be, yes, sir. Will be.
It is in the policy.
Can I,
Okay.
can I add to this?
Yes, sir.
The whole idea was, council a few years ago voted, before you were there, Marcus, to vote for council to be more involved in picking of the Grand Marshal and not leave it solely to the clubs.
Right.
The clubs were running out of names. It appeared like they were just pulling names out of a hat to pull names out of a hat. The way she's rewritten it is to, if Marcus McIntyre had somebody he wanted to nominate, you would email it to the email address or give it to Kathy to get it forward to the Lions Club if that's the parade they're running, saying this person's done this, and maybe a brief paragraph, this is why you're nominating them. And then out of all the names they receive from council, from residents, from staff, they'll look through everything they have, since they're the ones that originated the parade here in Indian Trail, and they'll send the top 3 out of that much bigger list to choose from.
Yeah, no problem.
Hopefully I clarified that better.
As long as these things, it's a good outline. I like what you've done. As long as it's specified in there. That way, nobody just kind of runs and changes the rules. Let's have the policy ironclad. That way it'll be easier to follow. But I have no problem with that at all.
Great. And the information is in your agenda package, the details. And so I'm presuming if that is okay with the board, then we'll move on.
Do you need us to comment on it, or you're going to need us to?
I want to see if there's any more questions or comments, and if not, maybe Mr. Mayor and board, if we could get a vote on it just to formalize it, would be good to go.
Okay, are we okay to vote?
I recommend we add it to the consent at the
Okay.
next meeting.
Good.
You know if we got a list of former Grand Marshals?
I have them.
Okay. Good. Could you send that to the Lions Club? 'Cause in the Rotary, because sometimes what
I can go
happens
back and
is
research
they
it.
don't know who's been marshal before, so they could get repetitive names.
Okay.
And that's happened a lot.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a question?
I
Comment?
don't, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Is everybody comfortable, comfortable with that being on the consent agenda for the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
So you can review the actual policy, so,
Yep, that's fine.
okay.
Okay.
Good. I guess, we got a few minutes.
Yeah, we got time to make a phone call.
Yes, sir.
We live? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Indian Trail Town Council meeting for Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everyone will remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. Council, at this time, are there any additions or deletions to our agenda? If there's no changes, I'll need a motion to approve the agenda as is.
So moved.
Mr. McIntyre's made the motion. By show of hands, all in favor? Let the record show, agenda was approved unanimously. That brings us to presentations. I'm assuming that Jonathan didn't make it tonight because the COVID vaccine knocked him silly. we have a proclamation for National Poetry Month, as I will read into record. Whereas the Academy of American Poets established the month of April as National Poetry Month in 1996, whereas National Poetry Month seeks to highlight the extraordinary legacy and ongoing achievement of American poets, introduce Americans to the pleasure and benefits of reading poetry, and bring poets and poetry to the public in immediate and innovative ways. Make poetry an important part of our children's education, whereas National Poetry Month, under the leadership and direction of the Academy of American Poets, is now the largest literary celebration in the world, whereas poetry enhances and enriches the lives of all Americans, whereas poetry as an essential part of the arts and humanities affects every aspect of life in America today, including education, the economy, and community pride and development. Whereas poetry has produced some of the nation's leading creative artists and inspired other artists in fields such as music, theater, film, dance, and visual arts. And now, therefore, I, Michael L. Alvarez, the mayor of the town of Indian Trail, do hereby proclaim April 1st through April 30th as National Poetry Month, and call upon the public officials, educators, librarians, and all the people of Indian Trail to observe this month to celebrate the cultural riches our community has to offer, and to recognize the importance of poetry in creating and sustaining this great nation with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 13th day of April, 2021. Thank you. Give me for 1 second. I can barely see out of my glasses. My apologies. Okay, our second presentation is for Mr. Joel Galax. Joel? You're here? Okay. If you would, could you step up to the podium, please? Thank you. First, I'm going to read this. Okay, Joel?
Okay.
Okay. This is a service award for Joel Galax. If you visited the Indian Trail Walmart within the last 10 years, you've probably seen Joel Galax, a jack of all trades. Joel can be found stocking shelves, collecting carts, greeting guests, or helping them load up their cars. And if you've had the pleasure of meeting Joel, you will not forget him. Joel's positive, friendly, and can-do attitude leaves an impression and can make anyone's day a little brighter. According to store lead Brandon Rogers, Joel is extremely dependable and comes to work in rain, sleet, or snow to make sure the parking lot is clear for customers. Joel's job is strenuous, but he works nonstop during his shifts to ensure customers have the best experience possible. Joel said the best part of his job is the people. He likes meeting new people, talking to them, and making them smile while they're at the store. Joel has helped countless Indian Trail residents and visitors throughout his years at Walmart and is well loved by the community. The Indian Trail Council is honored to present him with a service award for his dedication to his job and Indian Trail. Joel, first of all, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Second of all, do you know how this came to be?
I guess.
No.
No.
Okay, let me explain real briefly. On social media, on Facebook, there were residents all over the county that one resident had posted about their day being brightened by you. And that one post spread to over thousands of people liked and commented and tagged me in the post to do something. And as I read through the comments, they were inspiring, they were heartwarming, they made me smile, some brought tears to my eyes, all because of the work you do.
Thank you.
To give back to others. I received phone calls that said I better do something, for whatever that means, or else. It was or else. And so we had to think about this, figure this out, and it's not often anymore people like you come along that touch so many lives.
Thank you.
And you remind us why we're here, why God put us here, and that's for each other, to serve one another. And we're here to serve one another, and we are each other's greatest gifts. And, you know, I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And for the service you do for Walmart, for our community, for our county. You make Walmart look good. Maybe it's time they triple your salary. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to come give you this.
Oh, okay.
Marcus, remember you've always offered me a hand so I don't drop it?
Uh-huh. You need a hand?
I do. Last time I dropped it. Together, if we're going to bring this to him. So, Abby's going to take some pictures,
Oh, okay.
if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
As we
Oh,
present this.
where? Oh, yeah.
Did you want to say a few words first? Oh, you just go right ahead first.
I guess.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry. I interrupted you.
I think I would like to thank my parents and my family and friends, and I'm honored and blessed for this award, and I want to thank everyone involved in giving me this award. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marcus is clapping for me. So if you will come, stand over here, council can gather behind, and Mr. McIntyre.
It's their moment.
This is for you, Mayor, if you'd like to explain.
I have the pictures. That was actually fun.
Stand behind.
Jerry, you coming in?
Jerry's like, I'm not dressed
All
for this.
these little 6-foot rules.
All right, you ready?
This way or this
You're
way?
good right there. We're good.
Okay.
Sorry about the snuffles there.
Getting to know you.
Yeah, I'll get my, let me get my microphone so people can hear.
Better part of the day, it's gonna be.
Yeah, my mama can't talk, always talks about them.
You guys with Joe?
Yeah.
I thought they had something going there for a little bit.
You can sit it right here on the desk if you'd like to look at it, or,
Well, and just so everyone knows, the Mayor's going to explain what's in the basket. I'll turn it around so that you can see the things that are in there.
Joel, the basket being presented to you, in the binder, our communication director, Abby, printed out all the comments from the posts that were made about you so you can read them and have a little binder as a memory of what you mean to others and how many lives you've touched. You've touched over 1,000 lives, and each one of those lives spreads, and it just pays it forward. There's also some cards and gifts in there for you, along with residents and businesses that have dropped off some gift cards for you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's for you. I don't get to spend those. And since I've been reached out to personally that I had to do something, and this is an easy decision to make. Believe me, it's easy. I don't even have to think about this one, because if anyone's deserving in this community, it's you. We're not sure what we're doing for July 4th this year, but we will be doing something. And if your managers who can hear this live would give you the day off on July 4th, I would be honored that whatever festivity we are allowed to have under the mandates for July 4th, if you would take the role as mayor for the day. And you would also allow me to present you with the key to the city in recognition for your years of service and your pure heart. It's a token of appreciation from us here. And we're going to do a proclamation for the July 4th. When will we do that, Kathy?
We will set a date with them to see who's available.
Okay, we'll set a date for you to come back to read the proclamation for mayor for the day, and we'll present that to you. And Kathy will keep in touch with you as to what we're doing for July 4th, what we're allowed to do. If it's anything like the last time, we'll do like a parade that drives through neighborhoods and waves. If we don't know what tomorrow brings for our mandates, but it would be an honor to have you ride along with me. Okay.
Mayor Alvarez,
Yes.
can you just recognize who's here?
I don't know who's here.
Well, can you ask them?
I see Kevin over there. Okay, if everybody has to stand up and introduce themselves.
My name is Rodney Lannon. I'm the store manager at Walmart.
My name is Mike Dowd. I'm the front-end coach, Joel's supervisor.
Thank you.
I'm Wendy Gordon. I just worked with him for the last 7 years out in the garden center. He's amazing.
And I'm Samantha Helms. I'm the associate there as well.
Thank you for coming for him.
Thank you.
So you're the store manager at the Walmart, sir, you said, right?
Yes.
Does that mean that he has the day off on July 4th, sir?
Absolutely. No problem.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, John. Again, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you all.
Yes, and I'll be sure to leave a cart in the parking lot for you. That is probably one of the best parts of the honor of this job, is to be able to meet people like Joel and to be able to bring a smile back to your face. Thank you again, Joel. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to public comments. Are there any?
We have no public comments.
No public comments, so I will open and close the public comment period. And, and invite Captain James. Welcome back from your vacation.
Thank you.
You know, I had to say that with a stern voice.
Well, it got out awful fast that I was gone. I tried to sneak out of town for a little bit, but yes, it was very nice. Thank you for saying that. Very short and sweet. You've got the packets in front of you from last month. 186 total reportable incidents from the month, which is slightly up from the month prior. 437 business checks, 3,234 preventative patrols, and then a total of 5,742 total events in the town of Indian Trail last month. On the traffic side, we had 102 crashes, but we still see that trend going down on the injury type wrecks. These, we just can't prevent the parking lot wrecks and the little bump ups that still keep kind of being a hinder to us. The traffic guys on the back of the packet there, I actually put something new. That's the traffic stats for the grant guys, the two grant guys. 160 total contacts last month with 239 total charges. Criminal and traffic charges. Would like to tell you that we lost Alex McWhirter, which was one of the traffic guys. He decided to go to the private sector, and we have replaced him with Nick Herbalick. His name is almost as hard to spell as it is to say. But the super good kid, and seems to be going to take that spot and run with it. So I think he'll do very well. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Question. Captain James, seeing that we kind of starting to get more engaged people coming out, some of the restrictions in terms of capacity in different buildings and so forth being lifted by the governor, have you seen an uptick, not just traffic, but just in general, store visits, Walmart being one of them? That's where we have a lot of activity. What's your feeling? You see us trending upward or sort of?
Oh, it's not going to do anything but trend upward. we didn't really get a break during COVID
Okay.
with traffic in itself. I think you saw a lot more people staying at home, but we still have so much commuter traffic that travels on 74 and the
Yeah.
cross streets cross on 74 that traffic stays heavy all the time. As far as the businesses goes, definitely, especially with the later closing times and then the later service hours on alcohol. That's changed some of the service hours with some of the establishments we have that serve alcohol.
Quick question.
Uh-huh.
We had some complaints about vehicles and noise.
Mhm.
How's that working out, talking to those folks?
Everything that you send me, as you know, when I got here, I signed 2 officers to do nothing but specifically deal with the HOAs. The first job I gave them was to identify how many HOAs we had in Indian Trail because nobody could give me a number. That number is 84. What they've done is actually became a contact person and identified the presidents or somebody working within the HOA in all of them in town. I hope that you can tell me that the emails that you get and the calls you get about complaints have gone down because they're contacting those officers directly, trying to deal with their problems. I can't turn a crime or turn some things into a crime, if that makes sense in itself. But the one that you're talking about specifically, everybody that was involved in that complaint has been addressed, have been talked to. They know that officer by first name. They can contact him by first name. They got his cell phone, so they can call him directly. But I can't have him sitting there 24 hours a day. And that's basically some of the problems we've dealt with. But on the parking side, they've done an amazing job. Most of those parking complaints, other than the ones where you have people coming in and visitors that are parking in the street, we've done away with a lot of that and a lot of those complaints.
Yeah, good job, because those emails have disappeared, so.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you saying that. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
You can go back to the beach now. Thank you, Captain. Council, that brings us to our consent agenda. If there's no questions, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Morse made a motion to approve the consent agenda. By show of hands, all in favor? Let the record show, the consent agenda has been approved unanimously. Brings us to old business, Parks and Rec Field Reservation Process Discussion. Mr. McLaurin, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll try to be brief. Earlier today, you received an email which did 2 things. One, it responded to some changes that we'll be making in the practice of athletic field reservation. And 2, it is a follow-up from the work that you asked us to do last March. Not going through the email word by word, the council's role is to set policy and the staff's role is to do the procedures or process which meets that policy. So anyway, there was a concern about are the Indian Trail folks not getting first dibs at the field, essentially? And we looked at that for the period that we had. We went back and looked at our existing policy. We looked at how do we make it better, and we looked at several different ideas and listened to some of you. Some of you had some suggestions on what you wanted. And basically there are 4 things here. One is, as you know, we have the traditional month-long reservation period where we don't fill the calendar until the reservations are in. And then once the reservations are in, we fill it first with Indian Trail groups and residents. Well, what we wanted to do was we wanted to add 2 more weeks to that just for Indian Trail folks. So they've got a total of 6 weeks to submit their reservation while everybody else non-Indian Trail has 4. Some of our non-Indian Trail folks may not be based in Indian Trail, but they're serving Indian Trail residents. At the close of the reservation period, what we do is we then slot the Indian Trail folks first. That's bullet number 2. We have 2 historical groups that use the field across the way, and they're flag football teams. I don't know if any of you play on those teams or not, but they typically use the non-peak times, the Friday nights, etc., and we'll continue to steer those groups to those non-peak times. And then last but not least, we will go out and continue and try to do more push out in the community, reminding folks about reservations. Hayden and his staff, I thought, did an excellent job in looking at some of the data. He's got a scheduler by the name of Seth that just does a marvelous job. And if you look at the rest of the email, I've got Chestnut Square Park. That's where we get most of our demands. It's for the AstroTurf field, if you will. We don't have these problems for the tennis courts or volleyball courts or anything like that. But as you can see, the majority of the Indian Trail groups are being served by both fields. I would add also in conclusion, when we look at Crooked Creek Park, which is our largest park, you've got a bunch of baseball tournaments out there. Those are something that we're not involved with. We contract out that activity. The other thing I'll mention in the memo is Seth is very good that if 2 people are competing for the same time, that he will pick up the phone and try to work out something that meets both parties' needs. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I do have a few, sir.
Yes, sir.
First question really goes towards Crooked Creek Park. You mentioned that we sub that out, that function.
For the tournaments.
For the tournaments. So if I have an organization, I'm in Indian Trail, and I want to book it for a tournament, do I have to go through that group or do I come to the town?
I'm going to try to answer the question. If I'm wrong, I'm going to ask the guy behind me.
Hayden is going to provide that answer.
Okay.
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Okay.
But before you answer, here's why I'm asking you.
Absolutely.
I'm asking you, so if a resident calls me and asks me what it is, I'm going to tell them, here's what it is.
Absolutely.
Not meaning that it's right or wrong. It's here's what you have to do.
Sure. So when we open March 1st for baseball, and go all the way through the end of November, each tournament is assigned a permit. So that, it is organized by our department, organized specifically by Seth. So if a resident would like to host a tournament, they would fall under the same category. They would need to express interest and then go through that process.
All right, good. Now, what if I decide that I want to host a tournament? I live in Indian Trail. I'm taxpayer Joe, and I live in Indian Trail. Taxpayer Little Joe. Let's use Little Joe as an example. I had to figure out a way to bring
an actual citizen, right?
An actual citizen, taxpaying citizen. And I want to get it on the same day that the town has something.
Mm-hmm.
The town wins, right?
Correct. So anything that is coming out of our department, is slotted in there first. So Family Fun Day, Fall Festival, concert, whatever we're going to do, we put ourselves at that
Karen,
first stop.
Based on the policy that I see set forth with the 4 different points, does the town need to state that they will reserve the right to use, because somebody will call at some point and say, hey, I want to use the field, but the town, to me, that's on you. The town gets first time to put
we
on
got
the town
first in
function.
line. So we're first in line, so
Good.
that's all there is to it.
That's
It's our
good.
park.
And I see, and listen, this comes about based on the fact that we had 2 soccer fields and no football. We went from 2 soccer fields to 1 football and also a soccer field.
Sure.
So therefore, we've reduced the size, but the use is increased because now, rain or shine, you can play on it.
Correct.
So that poses a problem, which, the council hopefully will answer in the future. But I'll take a read for this, but thank you for the information. That's all I had. That's all I had, sorry.
And just to be clear, we can also, the town has the absolute authority to trump anybody, to not allow them to play. So we can say no to whoever we want to under any circumstances,
Good.
so long if they're violating our policies. So
Good.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Since you brought it up, just for the record, if they bring back clotheslining and that flag football, let me know. I'll have an interest.
You'll be the first one we call,
I
sir.
appreciate that. So,
What's really important here is, that's funny coming from me, when are we going to have another staff versus council softball game? I'm ready. I know I'm
We're
pretty
ready.
predictable. I'll probably be bunting every time.
Hey, that's all right. You know, we have looked at it, so whenever y'all are ready, we will organize something.
need
I
one-
want to be on your team.
Can we play slow motion?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Slow motion softball?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And also, one other thing.
Yeah.
For the mayor, we need a designated hitter.
He can run for everyone, right?
I'm sorry, man, that was
Yeah.
wide open.
You,
Nobody
you,
took
kn-
it.
you do know that you have an employee that she was a fast pitch softball pitcher in college.
You don't have
I'm not
to,
gonna be playing fast.
I believe you actually have two on staff here, so
Oh my God.
Stand for it.
Well, look, no offense, guys, judging by some of your, influence, I'll take my chances with one arm and a bat.
I like that.
oh, there you go. There you go.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for this. We are coming up just as a point of note to opening up our fall seasons as we call them. So if we are able to reach a decision, that'll just allow us to reach out to those groups so that they can schedule their July 1 through December 30th or November 30th timeframe. So
Do you need us to approve a new policy, or?
I don't want to rush anything. Typically we open up that time April 1st, so we are a little delayed. I want to make sure that we're all good. That way each.
so can we just continue with the old policy until the new policy comes into effect, and then it'll be enacted whenever the next period is, which is November? So in other words, right now, if you just continue with what your current, that would be my advice, continue
Sure.
with your current policy, and then at the next opportunity, the new policy will be enforced. Is that kind of how I do it?
If I could suggest, and Karen and I could have a sidebar conversation if we need to, I think the council's policy, which is the big picture thing, is you want the practice or the procedures to give priority to Indian Trail residents.
Yep.
And so I think you've got your policy already in place. I think staff is just briefing you on the procedures that we intend to follow to make sure that we're supporting your policy. Also, if any of you run into any questions or you get any complaints from someone that felt like they were not treated fairly, if you will ask them to call us. Also, and last point, Hayden and his staff are trained so that if, for example, Todd, you call for a field for a Thursday, he may say, I don't have one on Thursday, but I have one on Friday. Will that work? Because when, we want to accommodate as many people as we can, and I will certainly support and advocate the board's efforts to try to build more park and rec facilities for the future to meet our demand. So,
Perfect. Council? Thank you, Hayden.
Thank you, everyone.
That brings us to new business, Union County Sheriff's Office contract review.
Yes,
Initial
sir.
discussion, Mr. McLaurin.
yes, sir. You got two contracts that are coming up that will expire on June 30th of this year. One, some of you may know, is part of our contract with the Sheriff's Office. In addition to the personnel and the cars and all of that we've talked about before, we also have a lease where we own the building that they operate on. So those are two different documents. Both of them expire on June 30th of this year. If you remember, we actually did an amendment earlier this year, but it still expires for the building on June 30th. The sheriff's contract with the personnel and all of that is a 4-year agreement that will also expire this year. So my presumption is we are interested in renewing the contract, and I wanted to get a nodding of heads or shaking of heads. And if there are any specifics you want to talk about, I'll be happy to talk offline with you. I have had several conversations with the sheriff. The sheriff seems to be happy, and we will slate this for an upcoming meeting for y'all to approve. That's all I have, sir. No action needed on your part.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Captain, sorry. You'll be there Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. We don't have a quorum, and we need to, I'll bring it up under manager's report.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That brings us to discussion on town-sponsored scholarships. Mr. Cohn, are you going to speak on this?
Yeah. Back, and this says town-sponsored scholarships, and this is kind of a specific, also specific scholarship that the council had voted on, do believe it voted on, and correct me if I'm wrong by saying that. I do believe the council voted on it to give Summer, who is Chase Coble's daughter, a scholarship. And I believe it's not as easy as said as done. And I can make this really quick and say that the council needs to, if I'm correct, needs to give the town attorney some time to look it up and to investigate, which may cost a little money to do that. I guess that's the reason we're asking you to do this, or if we do ask you to do this, to find a way, or try to find a way that the town can legally and precisely do it in the right way, give this scholarship. And then, the council may want to discuss also the fact that maybe this could be not only a scholarship for summer, but maybe a scholarship for the future that the town can give, maybe not as big a but set up a scholarship for needy people, for someone who deserves it, whether or not, and this could be a further discussion item, could be maybe a recommendation from the schools on who should get a scholarship, or just continuing a scholarship for the residents. Did I do that right, or did I go too far?
No, that's right. And what I did want to clarify is that the town is not able to do a specific scholarship for a single person, so that you all are not authorized by the state of North Carolina to fund a benefit that benefits a private citizen. So that is not allowed. I have looked into the idea of the town setting up I think they used to call them the widows and orphans type of a fund. The state of North Carolina does allow a town to set up a fund for injured or disabled police officers and firefighters. Unfortunately, he's not an employee of the town, or wasn't an employee, and it does not apply to his family. And so that was one area I was not, I didn't understand. I had a feeling there was something out there. I just didn't know how it worked exactly, and I have confirmed that that is not an option for us either. What we can do is take this private. And so if there is an interest for a private foundation to get set up, we can look at the Foundation for the Carolinas and see if they have any foundational scholarships that we can help focus Summer to search for or look for to see what she qualifies for. So we can do this on a private level. And the final thing I'm not positive about is this concept of a general scholarship. And so I do not know the answer to whether the town can set up a scholarship, for example, for people who are interested in becoming law enforcement officers or public administrators. So I don't know that it would be a general scholarship that does not, there would be criteria, people would have to apply for it. So that would be a minimum. It couldn't be directed to one particular person. And I'm just not sure that the town is authorized to even set something like that up itself and fund itself. But that's the one area that I do need to look into more deeply to find out if there's an answer. But again, the concept that we could just direct town funding to an individual person is not allowed under North Carolina law. Yes, sir.
I kind of Googled this, and I kind of had a feeling that's what you was going to say, because I just didn't see other towns giving scholarships. But my question is since we do set up an allowance to give to like charities and groups in town, could we donate to maybe Rotary or Lions Club or the Chamber or someone and earmark that donation that it go towards a scholarship? Can we dictate what that money be used for to that group?
So the only dictating we can do is it has to serve a public purpose. And so we would just have to hold our mouth right, and when we did it. And again, I don't have a great answer for you tonight. I will have to, but that's an approach I hadn't thought of. And that's a great way to, I will look into that to see what kind of parameters we could put around any specific donation that we gave to a not-for-profit entity that does generally serve a public purpose in general. That's why we can give funding to some of the places that you donate to annually, because those provide a service that benefits the general public.
If you could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
If that's the direction, I'll be happy to take a
Serving
stab
on
at that.
scholarships committees, would probably be easier for the town to give it to someone and let them handle the committee.
Absolutely.
Because, it gets need-based, physical, and, when you're choosing a winner, you've really got to have a reason, and
It's got to be an
and
objective
I
set
really
of
wouldn't
standards.
like to do that again personally, but I'd rather a group that had a scholarship committee set up do it, so.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know if the rest
absolutely.
of the council will be interested in that or not, but,
I
but.
think any information you can
That's-
bring back towards scholarships and need-based specifics would be useful to the council. Mr. Morse?
Yep. Refresh my memory, how much was it?
$20,000, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was a minimum of 5, is what the,
Which was 20,000.
yeah. Yep.
It was 5 per year or 4
Yes.
per year, 5 per year?
And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean, Jerry, that we have to do that in the future, here, and, if we gave, and I don't know that we can do it, but it'd be nice if we could give each high school, because we have 2 high schools, $1,000 or something like that in a scholarship, which is a very nice, I think, nice thing to do. Now, whether or not we can do that or not, I don't know, but that, I don't mean carry a $5,000 scholarship every year. This was a special time, and, the council wanted to do for somebody who basically gave a lot to the town and did a lot for us. And in turn, we're just kind of payback, somewhat, pay it forward.
Yep.
Kind of type thing, and
Yeah.
try to give his daughter something that, about 1/1000,000th of what he gave to this town. So, anyway, it's in your hands. And I didn't really
Okay.
understand what you meant by the private, which is okay, but when you say, you start talking about private, what do you mean by
We can't pick a person to give money to directly. Any donation that the town gives has to serve the general public. And so, when you name a specific person that you just all are not authorized under the state of North Carolina to give public funds to an individual person, even generally not even through some sort of wavy mechanism.
Well, hopefully, and I don't know, but do you think there's any way possible that we've got a shot at pulling this off, or is this going to be a?
I think our best shot is is to contribute, if we can do that, into a scholarship that is probably public service focused. So somebody who's interested in proceeding in a career in public service, and then it's open to anybody who applies to it. So it would, so you could certainly direct Summer to apply, but we could not guarantee that she's the recipient of an award. So that would not be possible. And again, I've got to find out what the rules are around a municipality's ability to contribute to a scholarship fund in general, because I did not find that authority specifically in the 160A, Chapter 160A, where there is authority with regard to nonprofits and some other topics, and so I've got to figure that out.
Last quick question, this is maybe we're kind of falling off topic a little bit, but what if we or I specifically ask donors to give to contribute to a scholarship? Would that at that point not be from the town?
That would, that's exactly right. You have every single right to set something like that up. I mean, people, even something, a GoFundMe page that's set up privately, that asks for contributions, is an absolutely legitimate way to handle it. It just can't be town funds.
I understand, and one way or the other, I'm gonna find a way, we're gonna find a way to do it, so we'll,
Yep.
we need to do it, so it needs to be done.
You up for another golf tournament?
I was just going to clarify too, the public purpose clause under the North Carolina statutes is for us to make contributions to organizations that extend the town services that we typically don't want to house ourselves, and a good one is like vaccinating pets. So we would give it to an organization that services all the dogs that any of our residents would want to bring. So that's kind of what Karen is saying, is that when we give our money to an organization, it's an extension of the services that the town provides to all of its citizens, or as many as can participate.
We're gonna figure a way, I promise you. We'll
So-
figure a way to get it.
Mr. Mayor, I think the consensus of the board is, would you like Karen to spend an hour or two looking at some alternatives?
Yes.
Okay. Karen, does that get you where you
Yep,
need to be?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll get something together.
Thank you.
Okay.
Before we move on, this was set up for a specific person, and now we're trying to work it to still benefit the specific person, but through a continual program. Man, you're good at golf tournaments and raising funds.
Yes, I want to do it.
Right here on council, I imagine that you could look left and right and find a lot of that 5K right here.
Well, Jerry, I agree, and I've done numerous golf tournaments. And I do one every week if I thought it. But I feel like that this particular, I don't know, I feel indebted as the town is indebted to somebody that did something. I mean, if it makes sense, golf tournaments are a tremendous amount of work. I again would do that. I would love for the town to figure a way to give this money to, because of the service that he did, not to me, that's just, I like the thought, but it's
I guess where I'm going is that I don't think it'd be that hard to raise $5,000.
A year for 4 years.
Right. I just don't think it'd be that hard,
I think we raised, what did we raise for the veterans, about $8,000 or $9,000?
No, we raised more than that, man.
Or more.
Oh, yeah.
But then we did it in a different way.
Mhm.
I know it's certainly something to think about, that it really is, and maybe we should consider it. I'm going to go out and ask for some $5,000 donations and see what we can come up with. Maybe we can get it that way, and have a golf tournament or something. Or maybe we can do it that way, and we'll figure a way. We'll figure it out. But
Call me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. You ready, Mr.
That's
Mayor?
Thank you for your manager's update. We can move on. No.
Okay. I've got two things. One is I want to give you a legislative update on some information you need to be aware of. And two, I need to talk to you about the budget workshop for Saturday. We don't have a quorum, and I'll get into that here in just a moment. Part of my job as manager is to keep an eye on the legislature and make you aware of bills that I think you need to be aware of. And if you are, feel strongly about a bill, either in favor of it or against it, you discuss it collectively as a board, and you ask the manager to write a letter stating your support or opposition. As you might imagine, this is the first year of a 2-year cycle, and I've talked to you about how all that works. And there's a number of bills that get introduced each session, with a small number of bills being actually going through the process. Part of the way I do my job is, in addition to having folks like Brandy and the other department heads scouring the weeds to make sure that if something's introduced that affects you, that they let me know so I can let you know. And I also probably speak to the League of Municipalities legislative lobbyist about once every 10 days about what's going on, and they focus on cities. I'm going to send you a memo out in the morning, and that's got some things that we think you ought to be aware of, but I'm going to touch on two of them tonight. One you may have already heard of is House Bill 401 and Senate Bill 349, but they call those companion bills because they don't go into one house and then cross over to the other. They're both introduced. And basically what it does is it's really going to change if it passes, and I'm going to ask Karen in just a minute if she wants to add some additional comments to it. It really changes zoning as we know it in local government, in that things such as we have a lot of single-family residences. This could allow for duplex, triplex, and quadplex pretty much as a zoning by right. And what we mean by zoning by right is they don't have to go through a rezoning. It also prohibits local government from downzoning. If there's some mistakes in the application, that can't be rejected because of that. So it was a bill that was introduced that even the home builders, I think, are beginning to have second thoughts about. The League is very concerned about what it will do for local governments. And Brandy is here, and she'll comment on it here in just a minute also. For the sake of time, I will move on to the other one. This is one that popped up called House Bill 496, which is the Property Owners' Rights and Tree Ordinance. This came out of Moore County. Actually, there was a bill last time that came out of a senator from around Richmond County that he got so much opposition that he basically pulled the bill. So this session, one of the representatives from Moore County introduced it. We do have a local representative from Union County that has signed on, which in effect would basically prohibit the ability of local communities to pass tree ordinances unless expressly authorized by the North Carolina General Assembly. It seems to be a little bit of overreach here as far as state and local government, and I'm going to call on Brandy to see if she wants to fill in what I missed, and then maybe Karen has some thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. McLaurin. We wanted to make sure that you received the information. There was a large spreadsheet that came through the planning listserv, and Mike said, well, they don't need all that. So we condensed it down, but the increased housing opportunities is the bill that I think we really need to focus on, regardless of how you feel about property rights, which side of the argument you're on. There are major concerns for both sides. So I think that we need to certainly express that to our senators and representatives. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have questions of specific bills. Thank you.
Karen, do you have any thoughts?
No, we'll see what happens. There is, I believe Wesley Chapel has already approved a letter or a resolution opposing these bills. I know Weddington, but last night voted to do the same thing, to oppose in writing. So my only suggestion, if you all are interested in following some other towns that here in Union County, expressing your lack of support for these bills, what they're doing is just taking local control and putting it at the state government for zoning and land use, which is a bad idea. I was trying to think of a really gentle word for that. But anyway, so if you all would be interested in taking action, I would just ask Mike and Kathy to go ahead and see what Wesley Chapel and Weddington are doing, and you all can sign on to something similar and send it up to the delegation, the Union County delegation.
Yes, sir.
Based on, I know these were two companion bills there, but what is the probability of the first bill that allows for duplex and so forth to passing, becoming law?
Well, when I use the term companion bill, it's basically the same bill as
Just
I
different
understand.
houses.
So they were
Yeah.
just both introduced in their respected.
Yeah, I know they'll
houses.
go to conference if it would be, but what's the chances of these becoming law?
I don't
What's
know.
your, I mean, guesstimate,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
hold you to it.
Yeah,
but
I know.
You think that there's a very good chance? Or you think it's similar to the hotel tax where it's gonna be introduced, but
But-
it's never gonna pass?
But much different than the hotel tax. It may be approved with some changes in committee. The home builders lobbyists in North Carolina carry a pretty big influence in Raleigh.
Yes.
And I spoke to the lobbyist today around noon, and she was saying that some of the home builder lobbyist folks, whoever those are having some concern. So there might be some changes. But I wouldn't bet the house on anything, pardon the pun. I've seen them pass stuff at 1:30 in the morning.
All right.
And so I think you have to be vigilant. The fact that some of your neighboring communities are concerned. I want to send you this, let you have a few days, do your own research, and then we'll schedule it. You know, if you would like, we'll put it on the agenda in 2 weeks and do a resolution. The thing on the tree, you know, I told you it came out of Richmond County, got pulled, then went to Moore County. If you're familiar with the state, Richmond County is the Rockingham area. Moore County is Pinehurst, that area. I was reminded of something that former Senator Dan Clodfelter said, and it holds true here. In North Carolina, a local issue can become a state issue real quick. And that's an example right there. Sometimes you'll have a local issue pop up, and instead of trying to solve it locally, they do it statewide. I will make one comment on, without going too far askew, on the occupancy tax. We don't think it's going anywhere this year. I talked to the lobbyist today about kind of what generally is a log jam and how do you work through it, and they didn't have any information. They'll keep their ears to the ground if they hear anything. So,
Question.
yes, sir.
On this tree ordinance, what is the ordinance about? I read up on the other. but-
Okay. Basically, as I understand, and we can get you copies of these bills, basically the tree ordinance, as I understand, right now, a lot of communities have ordinances on trees. What's a heritage tree, you know, what kind of trees do you have to replace, et cetera, et cetera. The way I understand this, and Brandy, correct me if I'm wrong, is that takes the authority away from local government to have a tree ordinance, period. Unless the
then-
North Carolina General Assembly gives you the authority to do it. We're not a home rule state. The General Assembly has a lot of power in this state. We can only do those things that are authorized by the General Assembly. From how you raise revenue to how you spend money to about everything you do.
I'm just telling you guys, right now, I'm opposed to both bills, that what I've seen. And I wouldn't mind signing a resolution opposing those, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Good.
Is that a consensus?
I'm there.
Good.
You want to have something ready for us for the next meeting?
We will, and we will also send you copies of the bill as they sit right now. Okay. The other thing is, we had initially planned to do a budget workshop this coming Saturday. Several of you can't be here. We only have 3 that can be here, so I weighed the question. I've seen this done, but where we would just have the 3 and just share information, you couldn't really do anything. But Karen reminded me correctly that it's not a meeting, so you can't take minutes. So it's kind of a gathering of 3. Can't take
Yeah, you
action.
can't take action, but you can take, but there, you can keep minutes, but it is not, it would not be an official meeting because there's no quorum.
Official meeting, yes.
Is 3 not a quorum here?
I thought it was
members?
2 in the mayor. If it's
No,
3
they
council
cha-
members.
They changed it to 3 and the mayor. They
Yeah.
voted on that
If we
as
have 3
policy.
council members, then we
It's
have.
No,
gonna
3
be 2
council
and the
members.
mayor.
Yeah, that's not
there's
a
3
quorum.
council
Here
people.
doesn't count anything.
That's
Well,
not a
thank you
quorum.
for
Well,
that.
well, no,
I'm sorry.
sorry. We're gonna have 3 council people absent. That's why.
Right.
Oh, so you
Yeah,
have 2
that's not,
council members,
yeah,
right.
2, that's not, then you will
We-
not have quorum.
Do we want to postpone it to the following week?
Well, we could do that, or, someone asked me about Thursday nights. I'm tied up on Thursday nights, but if you wanted to do it next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, or 5:30, or 6:30, or the following Saturday, we could do that. I just need to know what we want to do.
Will you be presenting the same thing you presented the first time around, or what's this one about?
No, sir, what we're doing, if you remember, what we talked about last Saturday was we talked about several departments that were operational and very minor capital items, not the big ticket capital items that's going to go on a CIP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what we've got scheduled coming up for our next session will be the sheriff's office, park and rec, and Adams.
Public
and we
Works.
will talk to you about the CIP, the 5-year CIP.
Yeah.
I did send you out the recording from Saturday, so you can look at that. Mr. Head was out of town, due to the death, and we certainly grieve with you with the loss of your mother. And he and I had a wonderful meeting today where we sat down and kind of caught him up on what he missed.
Mr. Head, would Tuesday work for you, sir, based on what you have going on?
Next Tuesday, sure.
Anybody else, would Tuesday work for you guys? Or the following Saturday?
What time?
On Tuesday, what time are you
You said
talking?
next
I'll be
Tuesday?
out that
Yes,
week.
sir.
What time are you
That's
talking?
fine.
Evening hours?
Or the Saturday, I mean, like,
Tuesday?
I don't want to take anybody's time, but I don't have things going on Tuesdays because of council meetings, so.
Week, so.
Mayor, you have something on Tuesday?
What's the date? Do we know?
The 20th.
The 20th.
Not at this time.
Sir?
David?
He might find something for us.
David?
No, the only thing that would come up would be an emergency.
Okay.
So that would be the same for anybody else.
Yeah. So do we want to try the 20th or go back to the?
Want to show of hands?
Well, Todd Barber, you haven't said anything, man. Are you going to be good on Tuesday?
You're good for next,
Tuesday the 20th is your summit.
Our summit?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
You'll
a,
be in your summit all day.
yeah, this would be in the evening.
April the 20th. Yeah,
All right.
just-
Decide right now, we can decide tomorrow.
Let us reach out to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
that's good.
So I do apologize that, for this unexpected thing, but that's okay. We'll work through it. The last thing I have is I sent you out an email a little while ago. If you want to sign up for City Vision, which is part of the League of Municipalities annual meeting, the time is running short. Just get up with Kathy, she'll fix you up. I will share with you, I'm not even sure what the registration is. It's very reasonable.
$89.
Yeah, there
That's
you go.
correct.
Thank you. Now, I will tell you, when they have live meetings, I will encourage you, if you can go, because not only do you get good information, but probably most importantly is it gives you an opportunity to meet your fellow elected officials across the state. And I have not had an elected official yet that have gone to those and told me it was a waste of time. So I know it's a commitment, but I would encourage that. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, and I'll quit talking.
Okay.
I was gonna speak on, and
Okay.
I think Mike forgot about.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Occupancy tax.
Go ahead.
All right. We were gonna do that in the I guess the part of the agenda, but I wanted to bring up I've done a little bit of homework on the occupancy tax, and, I hear said it's dead, and, it's not gonna happen, and it's probably not gonna happen. But that's exactly what they want us to think. When I say they, that's exactly what people who don't want to deal with this, they want us to think that it's no good. I spoke with Mayor Dunn, White Dunn, earlier tonight before we came, and I don't know, I wasn't aware of this until I talked with them, but they've had 2 hotels for years over there. They have not collected a dime off of it. And, it aggravates the fool out of me. It would me to be in the same county with somebody that's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars off the same thing that I'm not getting, just because, if that makes any sense to you. The best answer that I can get, the reason it's not happening is just because. It's just because. just because the rules aren't the same. Well, 8 years ago, or whenever they let a lot of these occupancy taxes, the rule stated that you could have an occupancy tax. Somebody came along the lines and they didn't want to deal with it anymore. They didn't want to bring up the word tax anymore or whatever. And they wrote a rule in there saying in the Senate that you can't, that something about what the House, you can do it, but you can't do it in the Senate. And I really think it's local governments need to speak up. I think we need to speak up. I think I've spoke to Mike, and this Mike's what I'm saying and what he's saying, and I'm not saying he said anything. This is just me, but he has some good ideas about us, local governments, getting together with our legislators more often and letting them know what we want and what we want to do, and maybe we can get the rest of the counties to do the same, or the county to do the same. But I got some statistics that, and some of them are old. In this particular, in North Carolina, from NC Department of Revenue, in 2016, $246 million was collected statewide on an occupancy tax. Now, how much did Indian Trail get out of this? They didn't get anything. Naturally, we don't have a hotel. But Stallings didn't either, and I don't know if they had one in 2016, but how much did our residents pay into it? I paid into it because I go stay a lot. Not last year, but everywhere I go, most everywhere I go, there's an occupancy tax. So that particular municipality is making money. It's just not fair. I can't believe that we would live in Indian Trail, and if we got a hotel that if we charge 5%, which that's what you would charge, 5% occupancy tax, and you draw a line in the road, I mean, with a pin, and this side of the street's going to make a couple $100,000, and this side's not going to make nothing. Pardon my English, but it just because. There are more than 163 counties and municipalities collecting an occupancy tax in North Carolina. What can you do with an occupancy tax? The occupancy tax is supposedly for tourism. You know, it's a tourism type tax. But you know, several years ago, and I don't remember if this is why we were on council, you know, when we were talking about our downtown project, we talked about building a really nice, not community center, but an event center, put an event center there. You could take a couple $100,000 a year to build an event center where you have many things going on there, and not only do you make that event center brings thousands of tax dollars to your town, to your restaurants, to your stores, to your hotels. So it just makes sense to get what anybody else is doing. When we travel, Indian Trail residents, and stay in hotels, in many cases, we always pay an occupancy tax. Why? Why would you pay? Somebody said, why would you pay an occupancy tax? Well, you're still using the roads. You're still using police protection. If somebody gave you the opportunity when you went to a town, they say, listen, you don't have to pay the occupancy tax, but you can't use the roads, and you can't have any police protection. If somebody comes to rob you, we're not going to call the police. We're just going to let them rob you. Or that catches on fire, the fire department won't come. So we're talking 5%. Some of the things that I've heard that were excuses were, well, they won't come to your town because you're charging an occupancy tax. If anybody in this has ever asked a hotel ever if you're paying an occupancy tax when you go there, you're the cheapest person I've ever seen in my life, because I've never seen that asked before. Plus, where are they going to stay if they're not going to stay in Charlotte because they got to pay an occupancy tax? If we build a hotel in Indian Trail, where are they going to stay? They're not going to stay in Monroe. They're not going to stay in Matthews. Well, shoot, man, maybe they'll stay an hour and a half away and spend $20 in gas and come over here and stay in a hotel and take an hour and a half to get here. It just doesn't make sense. I do have some totals from 2016 of what counties and towns collected on an occupancy tax. Mecklenburg County in 2016, and I'm sure it gets a lot more now, collected $53,372,000 in occupancy tax. I'm going to go to town. The town of Greensboro collected almost $5 million in occupancy taxes. And I'm going to skip the resorts like Wilmington, because I understand why they get them, Ocean Isle Beach, but let's go to Hickory, where I don't know that there's a lot of tourism in Hickory. Hickory, almost $2 million in occupancy tax. Lumberton, $1,152,000 in an occupancy tax. You know, our garbage contract's going to go up, we think, $1 million in a year. It's all probability. Our law enforcement contract, just like everything else, is going to go up. So why do we not get to get it when other people are getting it? I just would like for us to maybe put some more pressure on our senators and our congressmen. I know White's pretty Dunn is pretty upset about it, but Indian Trail is the largest town in Union County. We contribute more tax revenue to the county than any town in our county. But at the present, we're not allowed to collect an occupancy tax. Yet a town that borders and touches ours is allowed and has collected hundreds of thousands, if not several million, over the years. It's time for us to get an occupancy tax, and it's time for our legislators get off that just because and start working for us. The citizens of Indian Trail deserve it, because we're getting charged when we go and when we're not getting it on this end. So that's all I got to say. And is it dead? Probably, maybe. Let's work hard, and maybe we can get somebody to do something different. I do know that one of the leading people that keep it out of getting voted on every year, a senator who does not want it, their county gets it. So that's
Actually,
even more aggravating to me. So
I don't mean to correct you, but actually that's a House member, Ms. Howard
well,
from Davie County.
is it?
Yeah, so.
Well, if you
I'm
didn't
sorry.
mean to correct me, you did anyway.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you. I'm sorry.
You did.
I'm sorry.
I'm embarrassed. But
No, I'm sorry.
I was told it was the senator. So, but what do I know? But anyway.
David, what town are we talking about? Is this Monroe?
No, it's not Monroe. And I'd rather not say, because I'll tell you who it is, because I'll just rather tell you who it is later. But there is a person that has created the I shouldn't say problem, but has created the
Obstacle?
obstacle to keep from getting it done, because they are so much against it, but their county is collecting it. And as a matter of fact, their county is 42,000 people total in their county, which is about the size of Indian Trail. And they collected I think last year, yeah, they did, last year, $266,000 in an occupancy tax.
Well, they're afraid they're gonna lose some of their pie, or I don't under.
What do you mean?
Well, if you're getting an occupancy tax.
Right.
In your community, why do you care if another community has an occupancy tax? Why would you want to put obstacles up for another community? I don't get that. I'm struggling with this.
That's why I say it's a just because. You know, when you were a kid and you'd be asking an older kid if you could do something, and they didn't really have a good answer for you, and you wanted to do it, and you go, well, why can't I do it? And they'd look at you and say, just because. And you go, okay, what am I going to do? But
So are we suggesting maybe a resolution, or getting on the horn, or both?
we did a resolution, did we not? I mean, we did a resolution, but yeah, call.
I mean, is this firing them off to all the different county to take the resolution and send it to every county's representative?
Well, Stallings has also sent a resolution. We've sent a resolution. I just think we need to call our, all of us call our Congress people and senators and say.
Representatives.
Huh?
State representatives.
State representatives, sorry. What'd I say?
Congressman?
Okay.
They're gonna be like-
Start
State
there, too.
representatives, I'm sorry, legislators, or whatever, but anyway. It would help if you'd call and say, why? And, why can't, it just doesn't make sense, Jerry. It just does not make sense. And our residents aren't paying for it. That's the good thing about it.
Do our county commissioners support us?
I don't know. I would hope so. Does anybody talk to a county commissioner about it? Michael, do you?
That's
Todd,
one
you-
thing, no, not about that, no. Interesting, it would be interesting to ask.
That to me is the starting point. If you can't get your county commissioners to support the local municipality, then,
I would think they're for it, because I'm sure
they
they
would benefit as well, but I.
benefit from the
I
one in
was getting
Monroe.
confused when I heard that there's other municipalities enjoying the occupancy tax, and I'm sitting there going, is this Monroe? Because they have.
Oh, Monroe gets an occupancy tax.
So the
Oh,
mayor
yeah.
has a nice relationship with the.
Monroe's probably collected millions of dollars in occupancy tax over the years.
Would Monroe be willing to go to bat for Indian Trail since we're cousins in the same county?
Possibly a specific person that's in charge of, that's on their tourism board, that has a lot of weight. You know what I'm talking about, Mike?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yep,
What is it- what will
that's
it-
been a person we need to,
I think somebody could reach out to the Western Union Alliance to see where they're at. That's the Weddington, I forget, there's 4 or 5.
So what would be the best way to have a coordinated effort? Because I feel like if you've got 5 guys and hanging on the phone, but you get 4, 5, 6 municipalities now, they're starting to write letters and because, it does benefit Union County. So I would think we go to the county commissioners who'd reach out to the other municipalities to go to bat on the county's behalf as well. So how do we come up
All the help
now?
we can get, from you and let's join forces and listen. One thing is get in the car and ride up there and go to Raleigh and speak. Say, hey, speak to our.
Representatives.
did you memorize what you just said?
No, I
That was a grand slam. Let's go.
But I did a little better, and actually Mayor Dunn and Mayor Alvarez would go with us to do it and do
Oh.
the same thing. You're just standing up, guys. You're standing up for your town. You're standing up for your citizens.
Oh.
I put this on social media, and I'll shut up. And I got some of the craziest things that people were saying. Why not to get it? People.
Oh, yeah, I was reading that. I had a good
and I
time
just,
with that one.
Just to stay nice, I kind of backed off and didn't say much about it. But
You put up a good fight.
Huh?
You put up a good fight, but it was still amusing.
Yeah.
I don't do social media, so. So how do we move this forward instead of just we leave the meeting? It sounds like, we'll
Leave the
make some
meeting.
calls.
I'd call your county commissioners. I'd call your state representatives, and let them know we're serious about it. Let them know that we really want this, and that maybe just because or because there's a rule. What you're going to hear is there's a rule that says that you can't.
Change the rule.
Yep. They made it, they can change it.
The rule was there to get it at one time. Now the rule's there that you can't get it in the Senate. Not the House, but the Senate.
I think we have, I agree with everything you said, David. And I think as a group, we have to have a concerted effort, and we have to be relentless. Even if sometimes people say no, the people that they say no to are voters, including us. And so the goal is not to embarrass anybody, but it's to present facts and to be persuasive. I think, as Mike mentioned earlier, going to some of these meetings with the league is a good way to introduce yourself. Sometimes just picking up the phone. I do that a lot. I cold call people. I'll pick up the phone and I'll call somebody on an issue. Sometimes they want to meet, and I meet. I always believe that, Ray Charles said it best. Mama said there's nothing wrong in talking. Let's talk. And by that way, we can try and figure out. David and the mayor are the two that have a lot of the information in terms of the players, where things are, what's the obstacles preventing us or preventing this from coming to the floor. It's been passed in the House before.
During the last session, it did pass in
It
the
did pass in the
House.
House. That's what I know. It was never brought up in the Senate. And the Senate seems to be the bottleneck. What I've heard before is that in the Senate, if it's deemed a tax because of the current people in charge of the Senate, it is sort of frowned upon. But the thing is, that is just politics. That's not what we're into. We're trying to get results for our citizens. So who in charge doesn't really matter to me. It's more along the lines of how can we do this to benefit Indian Trail? And David and the mayor are the ones with the information in terms of who the players are, what the obstacles are, and what the plan is, or what we can possibly do to put, bring pressure to bear on some of these representatives and state senators to kind of bring this to to the floor.
That's a good point. And Jerry, we want you on our team. Come on, join our team, and Marcus and Mike, join our team. Todd, join our team, and let's all work on this, because I just see so many good things that could happen for our town. I see things that we can make some money, and when I say make money, I mean good things, like a convention center, like small conventions coming here, and filling the hotel up when we finally get a hotel, filling hotels around us up. You want a white tablecloth restaurant? How many people want a white tablecloth restaurant? How many times have we heard it? 1,000,000 times. What's the quickest way to bring a white tablecloth restaurant? Build your little convention center down here and bring in people into the town. You'll get a white tablecloth restaurant just like that. You'll get a quick one, because people from out of town come in here and they want to eat at a fairly nice place. Why? Because their company's paying for it. So it's just kind of the way the world works. And in most cases, the company's paying for their hotel too. So that's why they're not.
And if I'm not mistaken, the hotel is coming back because the size of the hotel has increased, right?
Correct. It's going to planning board next Tuesday, and then projected May 11th for town council.
Right. And I was at Carolina Courts on Saturday, and I spoke to a family. My son was playing against their team. They came from Raleigh, and they had to stay somewhere, but they didn't stay in Indian Trail because we don't have the hotel yet. But Carolina Courts, the ice rink, the baseball facility, right? Hayden, it's used a lot. These are all people that would stay in town, eat in town, and there's revenue available for that. So.
And by the way, I was at the park last week and walking around, and there was a young man walking through the park, and he was with his dad, and he was from St. Louis, and they were having a baseball tournament over the weekend, and he said they had a player from California on their team. So this baseball tournament brought people in from probably 40 or 50 states. I mean, just about. I mean, if you got Missouri and you got California in this, that's covering all the way across the country. But you may not realize this either, but I learned this a long time ago, that the Ice House and the exclusive, they recommend people to hotels for people that are coming in, and they get paid for it. They get like $5 a room for every person that they send to a hotel. So there you go. That helps our economy. If you got 100 rooms, they're making $500. A local business is making $500 just by sending the people to our Indian Trail Hotel. Right now they're sending them. You know where they're sending them? They're sending them to places that's got an occupancy tax. So that's the funny thing about it. So, they're going to pay it. So anyway, I'm done.
Thank you, David. I guess that brings us.
Mr. Morris.
Yeah, I really wasn't going to have much to say, but I would agree that the hotel tax, it's a good thing. The hotel tax, I don't see any downside to it, because what the upside to it is any revenue you can receive from the hotel tax, that is just a decrease in the possibility of raising property tax by the equal amount. So I'm all for it, and I think we just need to generate a real good game plan and then execute it. I think we just leave here and we call people randomly. It's going to be ineffective. But if we can somehow coordinate this effort and get our other municipalities involved, I think we will then make some progress. Yeah, we'll probably get shot down, but as you say, unless you ask and you try, you never know. So, other than that, I'm glad spring's here. What's today? Today's Ramadan, and I guess that's the beginning of the holy month for those that believe that way. And anyways, good seeing everyone again in person. This has been great. I enjoyed the budget workshop, and I hope that we can get a schedule real soon and get all back together for the next budget workshop.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Mr. Cohn?
All right, I think I've talked enough tonight. Thank everybody for coming in. I just wanted to say one thing too, very quickly. So I better say it quickly. In my driving around, when I drive around a lot, travel a lot. I've thought a lot about past council people, and I've thought a lot about Shirley Howe, and I just wanted to recognize Shirley again tonight on what she meant to this town and what she meant to me, and I miss her. And I think we should be real thankful, and maybe everybody say and think a little bit about Shirley in the next couple of days. One of the greatest things that I loved about Shirley is she came to council meetings for years when she wasn't on council. She had her own seat and she contributed. So that speaks volume for a person. It really does. And I miss you, Shirley. And I'm done for tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Alvarez?
That was very nice, David. Very nice tribute to Shirley. So you get me choked up there. I think I can speak for everyone. We all miss Shirley, and I'll just add, she made just as much impact to where councils went and what was enacted before she was on council as she did in the year she served on council. We've heard a lot tonight about government overreach from the state. And if that hasn't angered you, it should. These two bills before the state are just another step for the legislature to control everything the municipalities do when it comes to zoning, when it comes to the environment. And they won't stop there. You give them an inch, they're going to keep taking it. And David, you make a good point, just because we can, because it's the state we live in. It needs to stop. And I am not afraid right now to call out, Mark Brody, you need to remove those bills. They are not good for our communities, and you, my friend, should know better. All of you that want your control to stay with your local government, pick up the phone and call Mark. Call him 100 times a day. They're just wrong, and they're government overreach. Thank you, Representative Willis and Representative Art, for saying you're against the first two bills. I haven't spoken about the second bills. So yeah, I'm not above shaming an elected official. I've been shamed enough in my life, and it's helped me to understand my job a little bit more. Indian Trail Dental Clinic may still have, it's a little bit less now, 300 doses of the Moderna vaccine available. It's on my Facebook. If you're still looking for the vaccine, they're looking to administer them. Go to my Facebook, get their number, and speak to Harry. And I think that's a great community service he's offering and is able to offer since they were able to get them. And it's council, it's 1 year ago. I lost my arm. Well, I didn't lose it. I know what they did with it. It wasn't misplaced or anything. And it's hard to see any part of your body be amputated for whatever reason. And I fought it tooth and nail, but I feel a lot better since it's been done. I appreciate each of you for your sense of humor, for standing by me, for Marcus always willing to lend me a hand and calling
Always,
me
man.
mornings during chemo. He knew my chemo schedule better than I did. It means a lot, and to this town for everything that they've done to help just promote my silliness. It's helped healing. There's still a long journey to go, and just want you to think about, as we're, all of those soldiers out there that have lost limbs in a much more painful way and much more horrific way, where they couldn't fit them with the type of prosthetic that I would get because of how much damage was done. It gives a whole new perspective on what they've been through. And just thank you, everyone. I guess, David, since the state is now, for some magical reason, going to start filling potholes, I can focus all my energy on shaming the state for the occupancy tax. And I'll find out, whether you tell me or not, who's behind this and what representative or senator. And again, I'm not afraid to do what's right for Indian Trail and for property rights and for the environment and for what's fair. If you've allowed, no offense to Monroe, I love Monroe. If Monroe can have an occupancy tax and other parts of the states can have them for travelers that come in, so can every other municipality that has a hotel. You don't pick and choose in government, because remember, every single one of us and every single one of them works for the people, not for their own special interest groups, which is where we're headed, especially in this state. Special interest groups is buying your government. It's time the people take it back and show them who's boss. And I'm not beyond shaming a legislator. I'm not beyond shaming myself. So, all that being said, sorry to take up so much time. Figure we had a short meeting, and David didn't speak much, so I could speak for his hour. Everybody have a safe trip home. Remember, the kids are in school for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. Be careful with them on the road, because they're certainly not careful when they cross the roads. And God bless.
I think we've got, if everybody's spoken, I've got two last
Nope.
bits.
No,
of
that's
information.
just,
we're only
I
halfway
took up
through.
everybody's time.
Mr. Head.
If it's okay with council, I'll be glad to call Jeff Underwood out of Weddington, and they have the Western Union Alliance.
Go for it.
And start discussing with them.
Good job.
David, you brought up Shirley. It was you and her that put me here. I'm not sure I like that anymore. No, I do. But yeah, we all miss Shirley. I'm glad we're all back together again. I want to thank council and the mayor for all their messages to me about my mother. I walked in McLaurin's office today trying to be caught up, and I see this basket sitting there. I just shove it aside. And Mike's on the phone. When he comes off, he said, "That's yours." And then a little bit later, Kathy comes in with a card, and it's signed by staff. With also a Publix gift cards. We're having a celebration at my sister's house, bringing in all family and friends. And someone's even thoughtful enough to figure out what grocery stores were in Union County. That sounds like So what? No. Somebody went to that, and somebody donated those gift cards. So we know she's in a better place. And parts of the basket will be used at her celebration, which will be in Union at my sister's house on Saturday. And I just thank you for all you've done. I'm done.
Mr. McIntyre.
I'm going to be short. Thank you, Council. It's good to be back here for all of you. Mike, we are sorry for your loss, and we will pray for you, sir, and for your mom.
Thank you.
David, you and the mayor, hopefully you guys can continue the good fight with this. If you need my help in anything, let me know. I don't mind calling and talking to people on the phone. If we do need to go to Raleigh, let me know. I'll be more than happy to do that. That way we can kind of push forward. I know sometimes it seems that these things are not possible, but if we push on, I think we can really achieve something. And we just have to be relentless. Even if we get no, a movie that always comes to mind that's always on TV is Shawshank Redemption, where they were asking for the library. He started writing one letter a week, and they told him no, and then they gave him some books, and they figured he'd shut up. He said, gonna write 2 letters a week. Point is, even if we get no, let's keep going, and let's increase the frequency, because at some point, they're gonna have to listen to us. And this is not something that we're doing for the council. This is really for the town and for the residents, and it's something that we believe in. It's not something that we're asking that's not been done before. There's a path. It's been done before, and it's something that I think that we all believe in that we should achieve. So, Mike, you and your staff, thank you very much. Captain James, the sign, I sent a note to you the other day telling you your sign was wrong. I was just, joking with you, but appreciate you guys being out there trying to keep us safe. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Mr. Barber.
Before I get into my comments, I just got a question for you. I spoke to one of our representatives about this whole occupancy tax a year ago, and it's my understanding with the previous bill died, and it's my understanding there's a rule possibly in the Senate that's preventing its passage. So my question is, not only you probably might know the is, what is the, I guess maybe it's not the issue of the tax as much as it is the issue is what would the legislature have to do to change the rule? I mean, is that a supermajority?
No, let me tell you what I know about that. I sent you some information, you may recall, which had a slide in it which talked about this is the House version of how the monies are to be used. This is the Senate's version. As I understand, there's a member in the House. She and I worked together 25 years ago. She doesn't remember me. Her name is Julia Howard, and she is, I think, over the House Finance Committee. And when you're a committee chair, you carry a pretty big gavel with that.
So it's a committee rule.
It's how the committee works. I don't know the internal workings of the legislature.
That's my question. That's what
And I will be happy to reach out to the league lobbyist in the morning and let her know about, this board's passion about trying to get some traction and what else do they need to do.
I was looking at it as, if it's a rule change that's, would have to happen,
Yeah.
that's kind of a different animal than the emotional aspects of it. So.
Well, David and I had I thought we had a wonderful conversation today just about legislation and the peculiarities that you run into that sometime. But again, I'll be happy to call the lobbyist and see what else I can find out.
Anyway, as far as my comments, Councilman Head, condolences, thoughts and prayers to your family. I didn't know your mother, but she must have been a fine lady. She raised a fine son. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm lucky I had good parents. My parents are still living, and my mom's got a birthday coming up, so happy birthday, Mom. Miss Santa got married here recently. Her name's Robin Barron, now Salem, and Robin Golubish, so she does a lot for our town, and I want to wish them, God bless their marriage. I think everybody from Rotary was there, right, Hayden? Yeah, you know, so I'd like to wish our oldest son a happy 33rd birthday, John Young. The Boy Scout troop here on Indian Trail Road, the Green Scout Hut, has a fundraiser Saturday, the 24th. If you want to go get some barbecue, that's one of their big fundraisers on the 24th here in town. And you look like the type of guy that likes barbecue, so yeah, you can try. I got an anniversary coming up with lovely Lisa, so happy anniversary to her. Our theme song at the wedding was "Nobody Loves Me Like You Do," and I can tell you that's true with her. So she lived that one. But also, I do want to thank our legislatures. I think they do a good job working with our town. I know the ones that represent the people here in the Indian Trail, Dean Arp, David Willis, Todd Johnson. I know they've really been on top of the issues with the DOT, and I know the DOT's got some money in, and Mr. Huntsinger sent us out that some information. They're going to be filling the potholes in here, so I'd like to thank our legislatures for staying on this issue, and I'd also like to thank Mayor Alvarez here for making such an issue and staying on this about the potholes and all of that. And I hope you'll keep beating that one arm with the chest and doing that. So, but I do think it is sometimes good to bring public attention to things, and maybe that's why in this district that Mr. Huntsinger was able to get from the guy, you know, hey, we're going to fill these potholes. Maybe it's because everybody started talking about it. And sometimes, you know, talk is good. Sometimes, you know, we talk too much, but, you know, you did run for office, so I can imagine that's why people are going to run at the mouth up here sometimes and everything, like myself, and make comments. And I know all y'all, you know, I appreciate y'all sitting here and listening to us. But anyway, I just want to wish everybody a happy evening and a good night. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I got two quick things, if it's good with you. Speaking about talking about things, board, you'll recall this past Saturday, we had the first annual litter sweep. There were 22 volunteers. They did 9 miles of road, 9 miles of curbs and ditches, 4 miles of roads, collected over 1 ton of garbage. Some people asked if they were work release folks because you saw all these people in orange shirts and followed by a sheriff's deputy. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those buckets and those pickup things, and we're going to roll out a program that if you want to do a neighborhood cleanup, we will loan you those buckets and pickup things. So you should be proud of that. They were acknowledged in Facebook. And also Miss Howell's room. We've got the main plaque right downstairs if you go towards the men's room, and we're waiting for the other two. So, and the last thing I promise you I'll mention is one of the things legislators have told me collectively across the state, one thing that helps them a lot is just good, frequent communication between city councils and the legislative group. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. I thought y'all had a great meeting tonight. Again, Mr. Cohen, I'm so sorry for embarrassing you. I thought it was a well-informed speech.
Let me know when you embarrass me again, because I didn't realize it.
Well, as I was talking, I was putting my...
I know when I get embarrassed.
Thank you again.
All right, well, on that notion, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Mr. McIntyre has made the motion to adjourn by a show of hands. Okay.